Hey guys, welcome to Star Wars Timeline. My name is Ben. Today's character highlight is about Elzar Mann. As always, the video will be broken down into 3 sections. First, I'll give you his story, then we'll discuss his character personality traits, as well as his Jedi powers, and at the end, I'll give you my personal impression of this character and what I hope to see in the future. As always guys, thank you so much for all of your support. If you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing, hit that bell button so you don't miss all the future character highlights. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Elzar Mann was a human male Jedi Knight who lived during the age of the High Republic, roughly around 300 years before the events of Star Wars films. He was taken to Coruscant as a young man to train in the Jedi Temple in the Jedi ways. As a Padawan, he befriended 2 other friends who also become prominent Jedi. Those were Stellan Gius and their friend Avar Kriss. As older Jedi, all of the 3 of them were called to their duties in different parts of the galaxies, so they eventually grew apart. He was considered a very controversial and unorthodox Jedi, and he liked to experiment with the lost Jedi forces and Jedi knowledge and different techniques. He also played a pivotal role in the war against these space raiders called the Nihil. He piloted a Jedi Vector during this event called the Great Disaster, when the Nihil ships basically blow up a civilian vessel traveling to hyperspace, and it emerges from hyperspace in these broken pieces. They start barraging local planets, a star system, and all the Jedi come to rescue. Elzar Mann joined forces with other Jedi, and all of them together were rallied by the Jedi Marshal, their friend Avar Kriss. During that time, he protected civilians as well as battled the Nihil raiders. On Tar Moon, he also used his ingenuity. He used his scientific experiment to stop an impending disaster which obviously was caused by a Nihil attack. Later, after many great battles and trying times, the Jedi Council finally recognized this person's contributions and they made Elzar Mann into a full Jedi Master. He was elevated into the ranks and he finally felt that the weight was lifted from his shoulders because it's a position he always craved in order to get more freedom and get more independence and autonomy and try to search for Jedi knowledge and go on his own and do things as he sees fit, but all in service of the Jedi Order. He spent a lot of his free time, actually months away in Coruscant, in the Jedi Temple. He searched in archives, he looked for old relics and ancient histories, he was very interested with the past, but he also tried to address his visions of impending danger, which he couldn't recognize, he couldn't decipher them, and he was seeking understanding of that. Elzar Mann played a pivotal role during the attack on the Republic space station, the Starlight Beacon. It's a space station that the Republic, with their council, Lina Soh, and the Jedi created together in order to send it out there on the fringes of the galaxy and show the worlds which are not closely connected to the Republic that the Jedi presence is there, that the Republic cares after everyone and is willing to send help. So it's a very interesting place, and basically the station serves as the beacon of light and hope. And of course, it is being attacked by the Nihil. After devastating damage done by their saboteurs, the station basically fell into the orbit of the nearby planet and was on its way falling down, with all the civilians and injured people and the Jedi working together in concert to try to prevent this disaster. And Elzar Mann, he's also helping out a lot, but he also comes to the dark side very closely because there are these creatures which are left on the station by the Nihil, which are not very well described, but we understand they're these wraith-like creatures which affect the Jedi in the most profound way. They basically suck the light out of them, and unfortunately, few prominent Jedi fall victim to these creatures, and Elzar Mann, as well as any other Jedi who is not above them all, he basically falls prey to their attacks as well, and he nearly falls to the dark side with one fatal mistake that he does. And after the whole ordeal with the Starlight Beacon, Elzar Mann realizes that he's still very much a work in progress. There's still a lot of meditation to do, and he needs to make amends for his prior actions. Let's move on to the next section and talk about his personality as well as his Jedi powers. We know that from the beginning, Elzar Mann is described by the Star Wars The High Republic authors as a Jedi maverick. He's described by his friends as a tinkerer in the Force, because he always tries to find different ways. He always looks at things differently the way that the Jedi Order would. And he always enjoyed experiments and discovering new things that others may not have spent the time on. A lot of Jedi, because of that same reason, considered him very unreliable. And they considered that they can't work with him together because he is unlike any other Jedi. Which reminds me a lot of Qui-Gon Jinn, which I will also bring up later on. As far as himself, Elzar might consider himself a problem solver. And because of that, he was reluctant to ask for help, and he always had confidence in his own ability, and he thought that he could resolve any problem. That even though he didn't see the answer right away, if he meditated enough, if he researched enough, if he committed himself fully to any problem, he was able to resolve it, which obviously we learn from the High Republic novels that wasn't always the case. It is also to be noted that Elzar Mann has these romantic feelings for Avar Kriss, which he doesn't grow beyond. Even though the three friends are spread out in the galaxy and they're tackling different problems, fighting the Drengir infestation, fighting the Nihil attacks, Elzar Mann still has vivid feelings and memories of Avar Kriss, and he wishes that she was by his side. But because she announced to him that, hey, look, I am now a Jedi Marshal, I have a lot of responsibility to the Order and to the Republic, and she asked him politely for their relationship to maintain a platonic feel. And because of that, their link was somewhat severed and they became more distant. And that also included their friend Stellan Gius. But we also know that Elzar Mann, no matter what the situation or his personal feelings, he always remained very loyal to the Jedi Order. And he gave his very best to fight these Nihil attacks and to fight for what he considered personally justice. As far as his Jedi abilities go, he's not necessarily the most outstanding Jedi. We know that he's a proficient fighter, but his most noteworthy personality traits as far as the Jedi abilities are concerned is that he is unorthodox. He's not traditional, and his most notable ability is his force bond to Avar Kriss and Stellan Gius, to a point where they don't even need to talk to each other and say words to understand exactly what another person is feeling. Almost like an empath in the Star Trek television show. So what was my impression of Elzar Mann? Honestly, I loved him right from the beginning because he's a very dynamic character. There's very interesting counterbalance between the Jedi Knight, the warrior that he is, but also his human nature. And I really enjoy his romantic feelings for Avar Kriss. It sort of reminded me of Obi-Wan Kenobi and his forbidden love for Duchess Satine. And I gravitated more towards the Jedi from the original trilogy, which they were never described as these celibate monks who are dedicated to their order, they can't form families, because this wasn't honestly the case with the original trilogy, where we see the entire premise of the trilogy is based around the family, is based around human attachment and Luke Skywalker's love for his father and Anakin Skywalker's betrayal of his wife and his children, basically ruining his entire family. So it was a very, very family-centric saga. And this is what the High Republic in general reminds me a lot of. And this is what Elzar Mann personifies. He's a human being first and Jedi second. I also enjoy the fact that he's a maverick. Earlier on in this video, I discussed Qui-Gon Jinn, which actually we see a prototype here with Elzar Mann, that he's always looking at the Force and the Jedi dogmas from a very different perspective. He's always cautious that, like, hey, perhaps the way that we're looking at things is not the full picture. Maybe I need to step out of my comfort zone and look at things that the other Jedi aren't willing to do, and this will give me the answer to my problems. As we mentioned earlier, he always considered himself a problem solver. And it was also very relatable when he has his brush with the dark side, and there's a very terrible and tragic event that happens where, with a snap of a finger, in an instance of the moment, he responds to a thing that he believed was to be an attack, but in the end, he ends up harming an innocent person, which completely devastates his Jedi morals, but it's also, once again, a very human side. And it looks like it's something that he will have to wrestle with in the future books. But at the same time, I hope that as a character, he doesn't fixate on it too much, because he needs to understand that he's not perfect. And there are no perfect Jedi. They're always prone to mistakes, especially when they dedicate themselves to a very strict code of honor, that the Jedi are supposed to follow. The last thing I would like to say is that Elzar Mann demonstrates essential human needs, and that's why to me he was very relatable. The way that different Star Wars authors write him, Claudia Ray and Charles Soule and Kevin Scott, each time they present us with these big characters, which actually includes Stellan Gius, Avar Kriss, and also Elzar Mann, we always get inside of their minds. We always try to understand what they're feeling, what they're going through, and there's so much nuance and characteristics there that you just can't help but feel for them as human beings first and foremost. At one point, I start looking at the Jedi and I become a little bit bored. I'm like, come on, all of these guys, they put the robes on and they parade around the galaxy thinking they do the just things. Give me the human flaw. Give me certain elements which makes them imperfect and thus a lot more interesting and relatable, just like all of us in real life. As far as the hopes for the future of Elzar Mann, well, one thing I'm definitely looking forward to is his redemption arc, which I thought one of the greatest Star Wars stories ever told were the comic book series from the Dark Horse called the Tales of the Jedi. And there's one prominent Jedi, Ulic Qel-Droma, which I talk about a lot on my channel. He's a fallen Jedi who completely falls to the dark side, and there's a great, fantastic redemption arc where he tries to find his light again. Well, Elzar Mann is not quite there yet. He doesn't quite fall to the dark side, but as I mentioned in the last book that I read with him, there's something very tragic and powerful that happens to him that he surely needs to address. There's a lot of pain and suffering and anger that he needs to resolve in order for him to move forward. And I'm looking forward to how it's going to play out, whether he stays as a Jedi, whether he finds the light, or whether he completely falls to the dark side, even though I don't want that to happen. That will be very interesting to follow and see where Elzar Mann ends up. I also hope that he separates himself from the rest of the Jedi as the High Republic continues, that he stays this maverick like Qui-Gon Jinn, and he always tried to think on his own, and he's not easily swayed by the noble Jedi and their ideologies, that he always tries to look at things from his own angle, because I think in the long run it only benefits the Jedi. It makes them stronger when each and individual unit like Elzar Mann tries to think on their own. And lastly, what I really hope for Elzar Mann is for his legacy to last and translate into the future generations of the Jedi Padawans. And once again, talking about a Qui-Gon Jinn, maybe it is something that Elzar Mann sets in motion, which kind of makes the Jedi question their own ways and say, wait, you know what, hold on a second. Maybe we are too strict with our Padawans. Maybe we're giving them too much theoretical knowledge early on, and when they go out there in the real world and they start helping out and they join different battles, maybe they're just not prepared because we put so much information in their heads that they're not willing to think outside the box and come up with different solutions. And what if the Jedi pay close attention to Elzar Mann and say, as much of a maverick as he is, they say, well, you know what, if we see other Padawans that try to show like a different streak or something different about them, let's leave them alone and see where this goes. Maybe in the long run, it will make the Jedi Order stronger. And this is the case I would make for Qui-Gon Jinn. He is the only Jedi in the entire prequel trilogy who kind of sees the foreshadowing of the things to come. And he says, look, we need to train this child, and we need to treat him with respect and love and give him all the care, and maybe he is indeed the chosen one. And I think it was because of the Jedi arrogance, the hubris, and somebody like Mace Windu, who always overlooked Anakin Skywalker, saying, well, he's too old to be trained. Maybe this whole prophecy we read it the wrong way. And they basically discarded Anakin. And in the long run, they kind of like threw him off the cliff, and he became the villain that he is, somewhat with their help. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching this character highlight video. Please let me know in the comment section below, what did you think of Elzar Mann? What is your favorite book with him? What do you think his future holds? Will he be one of the Jedi who finds the light again, or will he eventually fall to the dark side, or making for a very tragic but at the same time compelling fallen Jedi storyline? Anyway, guys, so much Thank you so much for checking out this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.